PDF cleanup after exporting. After exporting to the PDF format, there's a number of things we want to do to make sure that our document is fully compliant. The items that we're going to be doing in this video include walking the tags tree to ensure the tags are in the correct order and to ensure that the tags are properly tagged using the appropriate tag. We're going to artifact any empty tags that we encounter. We're going to linearize any tables that are not appropriate for proper reading using assistive technology. We're going to properly tag headings throughout the document. And we're going to check the color contrast in the document to ensure that text elements have sufficient contrast within the document. It's important to understand that checking the color contrast is best done before you actually export to the PDF format. But in our case, we're just doing a double check to ensure that content has sufficient contrast. Finally, we're going to run the accessibility checkers to ensure full compliance of our PDF files. And now I'm going to open up my tags pane because I want to evaluate the tags that have been generated in this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk the tags tree. I'm going to click on the first tag in my document, which is currently an H1, and that's correct. That's what we defined in Microsoft Word. And now I can tap the down arrow key to just go from tag to tag in my document. Now here I'm seeing an empty P tag that made its way in there, right? So I want to artifact that. So we could do that by right-clicking on this content object and choosing Change Tag to Artifact, and then clicking OK. And now I can delete that empty tag because it has no content. Now, the next thing is a table that's going to appear. And as I said before, the problem with this is that it's not going to be read in a intuitive fashion because we have various numbers of cells in each row. So what we're going to do is linearize this table. And the way that we do this is we're going to open the table. I'm going to open the T body, and I'm going to open the first row, and I'm going to open the first cell. And that contains the first paragraph, the employee text, within that area. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that up and out of the table. And once you do that, the cell and the row are empty. You can just delete them. So now I'm going to go to the next row. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the paragraphs that are contained in each one of these rows up and out of the table. Now, you don't have to watch me do every one of these, so I'm going to quickly zip through this so that we can get to the next part of cleaning up this document. There we go. So now we can see that all of the elements that were in the table are just being read as separate paragraphs, and they're being read in the order in which I want them to be read. I should point out that I've also done the second table in this document. So right now I'm just going to go through. Here's another empty paragraph. I'm going to change that to an artifact and clean that up. Get rid of that. And I'm just going to kind of go down and make sure that everything's being read correctly. Now here I'm running into a case where these paths got tagged as figures and they're of no value. So I'm going to go ahead and artifact them in this document. And they are no longer needed, so I can go ahead and delete them. And this is now looking pretty good. Here's another empty return. So this is the process that you want to go through. You just want to kind of clean things up. Any empty returns that you find, you want to get rid of them. And I have quite a few here, and I'm just going to go ahead and clean them up then. There's another one. And so I'll just artifact these, and we'll get rid of these. Now, the other thing you might have noticed is that even though in the Word document, as I was going through there, we defined an H2 or a heading 2 in the Word document, I think what happened here is because that content was in a table, Microsoft knew that we should not have heading tags inside of a table, and therefore it didn't tag it appropriately. So what I'm going to do here for this guy, I'm going to right click on it, go to properties, and I'm going to change this to a heading level 2 tag. There we go. And I'm going to open that up because there's something in there I want to fix. I'm going to do the same thing to this guy here. We want to change him to an H2. And it is possible also to just rename these tags manually. I'll show you what I mean here. So like this guy can just click on this tag, type an open bracket H2, and that'll rename that appropriately as well. And then we should have one more. Here he is. We'll make him an H2. Now, the thing I wanted to point out here is that because of the way the table was structured, where the H2 was located, it had a gray fill behind it. And so when that was output, you'll notice that in every H2, it included a path that was the gray fill, for that shape. So I'm going to artifact all of them by choosing change tag to artifact. And that way that path object is not going to be read by assistive technology. All right. So that is looking pretty good. Now when I walk the tags tree, this is looking really clean. I like what I'm seeing. Everything is being read in the correct order. And that's really what I'm evaluating right now. I'm making sure that everything is read in the correct order. I want to make sure that everything is tagged appropriately. And this document is now pretty clean from an accessibility standpoint. Now I'm going to save this. And what we could do to evaluate this is in Acrobat, we can come over here to the Prepare for Accessibility tool. So I'm going to click Prepare for Accessibility, and then I'm going to choose Check for Accessibility. And I'm going to go ahead and start checking. And if you look over here in the report, we're currently getting a clean report. Under the document category, we're always going to have two issues. One is that it needs a human being to check the logical reading order, and two, it needs a human being to check the color contrast. Most of the content in my document is black on white. The only exception is the black on dark gray, and I'm going to open up a program that I like to use called the Color Contrast Analyzer, and this allows me to evaluate those colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the black text, and then I'll pick up the gray background, and I can see that down here where the WCAG results are, I can see that the color contrast passes at all levels. And right here I can see that my contrast ratio is 11.5 to 1, which is really good. And so even that black on gray is going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and quit out of that. That's going to be pretty good. And now my document is in pretty good shape. Now what I will do to just kind of verify that the problem with the Acrobat checker, right, the checker that we just ran here, is that it does not check to any standard, right? So even though it checks to identify any significant barriers, it does not validate to any standard. So I want to make sure that this is compliant to the standard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag this file onto the pack checker, and I'm going to let the pack checker evaluate this as well. And I could see that there's really only one issue remaining. And if I go back to the PDF file, that issue is that I'm missing the PDF UA identifier. It's very easy to add if I go to my menu up here and go to Document Properties. I can go to the Advanced tab, and in the accessibility area here where it says PDF UA Compliance, I'm going to choose PDF UA version 1, click OK, and save my document. And if I go back to the pack checker and I refresh this, now you will see that this document is fully compliant to the PDF UA and the WCAG standards. So my document is now accessible, and I'm ready to move on adding form fields to this document.